Leadership is something that comes more naturally to some people. For me to be at the time approaching, or in my 40s, it's going to be harder and harder for me to kind of work on and hone those skills. I really encourage people in their younger years look at what it means to be a leader because it's such a major part of you climbing that corporate ladder or building a team underneath you for your own business.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is Roy and welcome to episode 007 of Breaking Down a Business. If you are new to this channel, join me as we interview everyday business owners and hear how they break down their business from their success, strategies, and tools down to their struggles and hardships. Stay tuned all the way till the end because there are definitely really good takeaways that you can learn and implement in your business today. So, on today's episode, we have Tony Pontikis with Lakeshore Academy Gymnastics, 2 locations, one in Chicago around the River West location, as well as Mount Prospect, Illinois. He went from real estate to now co-owner of Lakeshore Academy Gymnastics. Please, guys, give us a warm welcome to Mr. Tony. Tony,
Hello. Thanks, Roy.
what is up, man? How are you?
You were very well. Thanks. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us and telling us your story. And you go
Yeah.
from real estate, right? We're going to get right into it. All right. Gymnastics. Like, how did that come
Yeah.
about?
Right off the bat, I'll tell you, I don't do any instructing or know much about anything beyond introductory levels when it comes to gymnastics or how it's structured. But I found myself with these transitions that so many of us went through during COVID,
Okay.
with 1 foot, or 2 feet at times in a career search, just trying to get things figured out and back out. I was doing site development for telecom for a stint of 9 months and getting, which has a real estate component. And during these conversations with COVID and businesses shut down, it kind of reignited a conversation of the sale of the business to my wife, which she had had with her boss over, a couple of years. And it kind of just started and stopped. But kind of the seriousness of people not being able to open and, rents being due to commercial landlords, it kind of forced a conversation for the former owner to put pen to paper, and we papered it in late 2020.
Oh, wow.
And
Like the heart of the pandemic. You know what I mean?
that's one of the positive byproduct of the pandemic, and really, for someone leaving the business, it was good to have us there, that we have the experience and the know how to run it. My wife had been managing the business for 12 years. And I've been in real estate and leasing, so I kind of know dollars and portfolios and balance sheets and expense and income accounts and things like that to some extent. But I've been mostly a real estate, and leasing guy, and know about rehabbing to that extent. But I was excited because I'd seen the gyms needed really some, facelifts and just organization and decluttering, modernizing. So those are things that I have an eye for and an ability to do, or, reach out to people that can do it for me. So
Right. So the passion there, but let's go and backtrack. You said your wife, 12 years
yeah.
working, with the previous owner.
Yeah. So my wife had been there for 12 years. And that helps as someone who wants to hand a business over and make sure it's kind of taken, looked after and knows what people are doing. That helps kind of, with loans we're looking at kind of taking over now, to have someone in place like that too for the potential acquisition of a downtown location. That's kind of her background.
Wow. How did that conversation come about? Because you said it happened actually a couple years ago prior. And so the previous owner, what was his name again?
David Roth.
Yeah, David, I guess, was already like, hey, I'm already thinking about my exit plan. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he knew that he was just approaching those middle 60 years of retirement. And,
Yeah.
every business is not without a certain challenge or a certain frustration. And at some point, you want to know that there's something for you to pass off and capitalize on. And so, those things can take a while. So you want to find the right person. And, he knew either from a couple of the main talents like Marla and Arcadi in there that, someone would be interested. And, um, through conversation and the nature of what we need to do to run the gym and what Arcadi needs to do to be the best, coach, it just seemed kind of better in our court. I think the interest kind of just faded on Arcadi's part with some of these question marks during COVID. And, really there was a period there where people were literally handing over keys to gyms and just say, take over my business and my lease payment. Maybe not as much in this market, but if you think about nationally, when you talk to
Right.
appraisers or people who just know, owners from coast to coast, people were literally just, maybe again, they were facing retirement. They probably were protected in the form of, their LLC and would work it out with the landlord at some point. But people were willing to just walk away from their business at some point because there really weren't many buyers, markets and markets. So,
Yeah. I do actually just have a few questions on that. We actually had so I'm part of a mastermind group with my 10,000K small business program with Goldman Sachs. And that actually just kind of comes up too as far as like either business owners either selling and or potentially getting invested in.
mhm.
Any tips or advice? Again, as you were kind of going through it, is there anything that you could provide as far as either questions to ask, what to look for? Because again, I know you talked about the financial back end side, but just
Yeah.
anything that kind of like what you went through.
Yeah. So a business is kind of a function of what industry is it in, what is its net cash flow and what multiple is a fair multiple when you're looking to buy something. If there's maybe a high barrier to entry and there's a lot of money at stake that you can make, as a
Mhm.
percent of your investment, then you may expect to pay, a multiple, a higher multiple. Let's say, I don't even know, maybe it's 4 to 6 times. Some businesses sell for 10 times multiples where you don't even make your money back after 10 years. But I think you need probably at least a clear visual on the cash flow. Consult with your accountant on maybe some anomalies in there.
Okay.
You also kind of have some perspective on how does this match up towards other businesses, just for your own peace of mind or for assurance that the numbers are kind of in line. People can play with numbers, either inflate their expenses so they're not paying taxes, and that would actually devalue the business when it comes time to it. So you want to know, if you're planning on selling a business, I'd imagine you might want to try and do what you can to, get that net cash flow up, at the time of
Got
sale,
it.
maybe a couple years before. People might look 2, 3, 4 years back. I don't know. But seller financing definitely smooths the process and is less formal. There's usually something down with that, so you determine what the business is worth. A portion of it might have to be paid up front, and the rest of it might be seller financed. Otherwise, maybe there's an SBA option,
Mhm.
or other
What's
type.
the for again? I'm all new to this as well. I'm actually that's why I'm like actually super intrigued. What and you're spitting this out like you're like, oh, this is so easy. What's like a seller's finance? Again, just kind of slowly
Yeah.
break that one. Just break it down
So,
super quick. What does that
so
look like?
the owner of the business will actually, determine terms that they will actually accept payments from you for, right? So
Got
they
it. Okay.
narrow down, they may want 20 or half of it down. And then there on out, maybe depending on your credit worthiness, whether it's formal or just a gut feeling, they may say, call it a 4% or a 5 or 6% interest rate.
Can you talk to me about the dynamic working with your wife?
Yeah, it's generally, positive and great. And we, kind of count our lucky stars that we have some flexibility to communicate and divide and conquer, or, hit something head on. But there's definitely, across the spectrum of what has impact or not. Like, you might fight over, where you get your air filters from, or, just little processes that maybe should be going on in the business. So it's not without its frustrations. And then obviously that can trickle into your, personal life, and you're kind of
Right.
reading something, something still weighing on you and on what's bugging you about how someone saw something or didn't do something. So, but generally speaking, I mean, we generally work well together, and she kind of has her lanes. I kind of have my lanes.
Okay.
I have a lot to say about everything, I think, in some cases too. And I think I try and impart just, different options or the pros and cons of either scenario. And, sometimes me being so verbose on something is just enough to just get her head spinning, too much to think about, too much to track and prove out. And she just, is, instinct and speed is kind of her strength. So I need to let that be the case. And as is patience, actually, when it comes to more, staffing or understanding, customers and stuff like that too, where I might be a little more dogmatic or black and white about something. And that's not always a trait you want to have, across the board. So,
Yeah, did you guys, like, sit down over dinner and was just like, "Here's our strengths and here's our weaknesses," and almost in a sense, just to make sure it's like we're in this, together as a team,
Yeah.
so
We've kind of just, come across that and, just in working on our relationship and stuff too, we
right,
know that it's important to kind of not get to fourth gear on something or third gear, just kind of just be patient, actually listen to and hear what the person's saying, giving them time to finish that thought, all the basics of just good communication, mirror back what you've heard, so that's an exercise just for your marriage and in business and as business partners. I'd say that, you don't want to be dismissive or steamroll anybody in a conversation, because even if you have good outcomes after you steamroll somebody, then that resentment's there, and then you miss an opportunity to hear something, from a different angle, and then if that goes on, then at some point you're going to miss an opportunity from that other point of view on why something should be done that way, or you should look at something that way. But as far as strengths and weaknesses, we've looked at doing something like that, which I know is just a basic marketing technique, but it does feel good to kind of just capture those thoughts. We've been doing that more for the business, but not really as much for ourselves as what we bring to it. We did do a kind of a personality assessment for us and
yeah,
our core bond prospect staff, just because there's like four personality traits, and that really dictates a lot as to how people communicate with each other, what they expect in their work role,
right,
how they perceive themselves. So it was a really great in-depth report that her business coach kind of presented as a result of kind of just tensions and poor communication between people at the gym.
for
And
sure.
it
Which
was
which
really,
which program, if you don't mind me
it
asking?
was called Trimetrics. If
Okay.
I can pull it up here too as well, but I want to say it was like a Trimetrics DNA or something like that. Maybe
Was it
120 functions,
got it.
and kind of gives you different graphs as to where you fall in naturally to these four personality types, and then how you adapt in a work or social scenario.
So similar, or I don't know if you heard of like Colby A index and or I think oh man, I need to look this one up as well.
Yeah,
There's another one, predictive index, I think. So it might be again something very similar to the
yeah,
culture, personality, how one person works right in a work environment.
yeah. And it's a
Yeah,
study
it
of
is.
yourself. And it's a study of the other personalities. You can't just do this and just say, well, I am who I am, and I just can't communicate that way, or they are who they are. I mean,
Right.
there's a certain baseline that I think that, once you can give someone more time to respond to something or prepare them better for being, and having these, engagements, these meetings with your staff, it lets them know that you care. It lets them know that you're trying to figure yourself out. And it is the Trimetrics DNA. I just want to double check that to confirm for people too.
Cool.
So
I thank you for that. I will definitely also, check that out, not only for myself, but for anyone else who's again, it's big with like hiring too, just in general right now, because
yes,
from what I'm hearing, hiring is a little tough,
yeah,
depending on which industry you're in, you know?
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. We're
Yeah.
dealing with that too, and we're looking at, how do we introduce that? Like, if we're ever with multiple candidates, or how do we introduce that early on so that we know how well they might slot in. I mean, he's gone through case examples for business coach of where you have like four dominant personalities and they're just like barking at each other. And yeah, they probably have thick skin and can kind of handle that. But a lot of peace comes when you inject the one person who is the steady kind of Eddie, kind of the more calm and, people person oriented. Like, the people will actually adapt their personality because of one person entering that dynamic. So I'm sure there's case study after case study. And we saw kind of my personality, and we're like, yeah, okay, Tony's mostly dominant, but he's also compliant and he's also an influencer. And I have more studying to do on that too. But yeah, it was just a good snapshot. Just, again, it shows people you care. It rounds people up. People kind of start seeing this is me. And then you see, kind of their color codes, and you can kind of, start, communicate with people in a different manner. And, some things are overarching, where to diffuse conflict, you don't want to react too emotionally, you don't want, you kind of be a little more, frontal lobe based, so to speak. And listen and use your I statements, speak about what you know and just give people the benefit of the doubt. Like some of those basic communication techniques, when you have a certain comfort level with people too, after, a lot of time, you might just revert more back to who you are, or just kind of just blunt, quick, effective, speed communication. But people are people and they're sensitive and they have a different way of communicating, and you can't kind of just have one take on everybody. But being patient is universal. Benefit of the doubt. Try to limit emotional responses, and have time to think a little more pragmatically, and just speak about what you need, and
Yeah.
what you need from somebody else. I'm not the best, by the way, at like mentoring or being too involved with staff. In preparation for this too, I did flashback this my time as a real estate manager at Clear Channel Outdoor, and I just had
Yeah.
1,000 things going on, a lot of competitive bids, political angles I had to take, internal leadership that I was proving myself to, reporting, new hires, landlords who are, I can go on and on the the stresses that were coming in. And as I was building a younger team, I really kind of looked back, and it ultimately was probably part of my exit of the company, and not being a strong enough leader, and just not fostering and delegating more and having trust in people.
Yeah.
It's something that kind of resonated with me, and I've tried to take, just a better approach to those, skills you need as a leader. And again, more studying, more books, audio books or whatever, and kind of changing your viewpoint.
No, that's I'm so happy that you've touched point on I didn't even know we were gonna steer towards this conversation, which is actually really amazing on like the managing leadership side, and just hearing it straight from you and what you've experienced, which is again key, like we've all worked those jobs way back when, right? When we were in teens, right? And then as we get older, you had those bosses that like irked you. You're like, this guy's terrible, right?
Yeah,
And now, you not knowing what was in the future or ahead of like, I don't want to be that guy.
yeah,
I'm going to take a different approach.
exactly.
The researching, being a better leader. How can I communicate better so that, we're not a dick or an asshole or et cetera? Because like,
Right,
I don't want that feeling. I don't want to have that feeling because I
right.
know what it felt like when that boss did it to me. And I don't want to portray that.
Right.
You
I
know what I
could
mean?
probably speak for a whole hour on the dynamics of that position as well. But yeah, between youth and just kind of having some negotiating successes and so much on my plate, and really just working on good deal terms for everybody's sake, a good deal, protected the asset, got more money in the agent's pocket, look good to your local leadership and all that stuff. But it's leadership is something that comes more naturally to some people and just needs to
Right.
be studied. And for me to be at the time approaching or in my 40s or late 30s, like it's going to be harder and harder for me to kind of work on and hone those skills. So I really encourage people in their younger years look at what it means to be a leader, because it's such a major part of you climbing that corporate ladder or building a team underneath you for your own business. It's really something I'm trying to impart that on my son now too, and my daughter. So, and they're just toddlers. So
Amazing. Has there been anything in the business, right? So let's kind of let's go now towards like the actual like business, just the day in, day out operations, how it was previously ran,
Mhm.
right? Because again, now you guys got, the keys to the new like to the spot. Have you guys, because of all the technology that we have now, right?
Mhm.
Was there anything that you could think of as far as major changes? Like, oh yeah, we're using a different membership login portal, right? And they used to
Mhm.
do it by paper, and now we're using some new app. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there was a level of stagnation there, at least for the last 10 years, when it came to cleaning or efficiencies or holding on to everything just in case you might need it. I mean, we had so many trophies just covered in dust and old
Yeah.
shelves. We needed a paint job. We needed a new sound system. We had a giant 500-watt Klipsch sound system that would have to be on level 7 for the whole gym to pump at it, and that's not how you want sound to travel. So
Right.
put a Sonos system in place. So that was at least a technology advancement. That was one. And then we also needed kind of some more dependable cameras, stuff that was more hardwired and some level of storage that we can access through an app. So as far as tech goes, our speaker system is pretty great now with Sonos. You can access so many different platforms through that.
Mm.
Sounds great, rather affordable for what it can do. And the cameras, we're not an arm and a leg, and we have some pretty good, resolution and like 30 days of storage. And that just helps with, whatever someone might complain about, or an altercation between kids, or if something walks away from a retail display in the lobby. Even out in our parking lot, we had an unfortunate incident yesterday too. So, it's just, to the extent that someone kind of drove downtown and actually threw in, you know, just tinkered with someone's car that, worked in a neighboring property. But it just kind of helps just kind of know what's going on in your environment. But really, I mean, the list goes on what we
Right.
needed to dump in here: carpet, paint, mats on the wall, some new equipment. We built a ninja climbing gym
Oh,
in the
very
city.
cool.
Added value for kids who are in gymnastics. We kind of do a hybrid class during summer camps, and we offer a class like 30 minutes gymnastics, 30 minutes of climbing. And not technically speaking, but Marla kind of compiled a lot of old policies and instructions for new hires
Yeah.
and coaches, how to handle this situation, where to find this, how often we got to do this. And so she kind of compiled a new booklet too, which is pretty refreshing, and kind of just knows you gathered some formal thoughts and policies for everyone's benefit.
That's exactly, I mean, I thrive, I'm huge. I actually do consulting for like SOPs because like it's policy and onboarding and bringing on new people, and obviously also teaching them to streamline everything too at the same time. So it's
Yeah.
definitely key because I mean, you don't want to be always on them as well, right? So again, going back to my Uncle Julio days, working, as a server and then worked my way up. I mean, that training was super extensive, but then again, like that's how companies succeed, you
Yeah.
know. That's why they're able to have multiple locations so that there's some type of consistency. But I also feel like it creates that leadership esque too at the same time of like it's structured and this is who we are, this is what we do, and hey guys, we're using what'd you call it? What was the program? Task
Rabbit.
or sorry, Jackrabbit, right? Hey guys, we're using this new platform. Here's how to use it. We need you to guys to like log in. So again, just that basic onboarding
Yeah.
coming in from the staffing, right?
It's accountability, it's structure, it's a
Absolutely.
reference, it shows you care, it shows it's all those things in one. And we have good relationships with all of our staff. We're like, to the extent that we're friendly and we trust everybody, but that can also either drop our guard down, or like not keep someone accountable when there's maybe
Right.
too much PTO, or how come there was a refund issued in this case when really typically is this. And everything's discussable. Like nothing, like no one's like one conversation away from like
Right.
reprimanding or like being terminated. We're just trying to keep the peace and the smoothness for everybody's sake. And having this, this one place of truth is just what we need. That way, it's not you, it's the policy. And if anyone's deviating from it, they're not deviating from my wishes. We're deviating from a policy that's for the company's benefit.
Right. No, I absolutely. And going back to actually what you said, when you guys were talking about like your team and they brought in on ideas, I am all for that. Let me tell you that right now. I'm like, here's how we started, but if you guys have any recommendations,
Yeah.
please bring it to the table, because it's like, what are you guys doing, right? There's always the like a gap, you
Yeah.
know? And I don't know if it's an ego thing of like, oh no, I am the guy, I put it together, it's my work, yada yada yada. I'm like, no, man, like that's not the way to do it. It's almost the
Mhm.
other way around. Gary Vee says it all the time where he's like, I'm working for them per se. And if you put yourself in that perspective, and it's like that's where the growth of the company comes in because
Excellent.
now they're entitled or they have a title, like they feel like they were part of the growth
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
helping implement certain policies. Because again, if they're coaching, if they're in it day in, day out, it's more like, hey, what can I like? I always have that approach. I'm like, hey, what can I do to make your job easier?
Right.
What? And they're like, oh, if you just, if, can we get more chalk, right? It could be it's like littlest thing, right? They're like, oh, hey, we need a chalk holder because like chalk keeps getting yada yada everywhere. It's like,
Exactly.
cool. You look it up, you get, hey, just got us a new chalk holder, yada yada yada, because there was a little pain point, trying to make things easier and more efficient. I'm setting you up so then you
Absolutely.
could do your job as with ease
Yeah.
per
It
se.
helps the relationship. It's the common
Absolutely.
goal.
Yes.
And a lot of times it's just the small things.
What are like your current strategies for like sales and marketing?
Mhm. So with COVID, it's hard to get a year over year look at what the business has been versus, in this last year versus prior years. We have kind of some macro numbers we can say is a more or less, and we're only a notch or two down from what business was before COVID, which is great. And we see traction to get us to where we were and perhaps beyond without doing anything, partly due towards people seeing all these improvements and stuff. So really the biggest sales effort was make the place clean, freshen it up, update, a bathroom here and there, remove a giant blocking pole, get your speakers, your cameras up, improve your retail, improve your signage, get more of a social media presence. That's all kind of a function of sales and marketing of yourself.
Right.
And really just looking, where do we have space during the day to add these couple of classes. Again, one of the limitations is, finding the staff for it. We had someone just leave. We're trying to backfill them. That will get us back to even, but where else can we get someone else to add the class in the morning if we have time? So where are your opportunities during the day?
Right.
Where is there a market to fill that? Who are you targeting yourself towards? So I'm kind of crafting the occupancy, so to speak, like where do we slot someone in, working with Marla and the staff to say who is, are we doing tots first thing in the morning that with parents? Are we doing kids who are out of school by 2 or 3 o'clock, for recreational times at, 4 to 5 o'clock before the gym gets slammed? So we have to identify kind of what we need and what we want. And then from there, know how to reach that party. And is that target market going to be someone you talk to the parent of, or are you talking to the teenager for rec time? Is that going to be through Facebook versus a local newspaper?
Right.
Um, so thinking critically on where the opportunity is, who the person is, how do we reach them, and then how much can I do, and how much do I know? Unless I'm a digital marketing or e-commerce expert, I know that I need to kind of be hiring somebody for the targeting efforts and the results, and kind of like saying, here's who we're reaching, here's how many views you saw.
Right.
It took 1,000 clicks to get you, 3 phone calls, and one of those people actually came in. Whatever the numbers are, I
Right.
forget. But so I think knowing when to hire that marketing company. So sales, always great to add a class and more bodies. So you want that to be kind of the engine that feeds a lot of your classes, that stay in perpetuity. We also have summer camps, so we're trying to market a summer camp, to kids. So we have to craft the offer too, right? So it's like,
Right.
opportunity, who's a target market, craft the offer, what's the message that hooks people, and what are the avenues you're doing to get that offer out there.
Have you guys done, and this is just me just spitballing ideas. One, I will recommend TikTok. It is
Okay.
free. Yeah, TikTok, as crazy as it sounds, one of my clients that we were doing, working with Barbell Rescue. So he does the cleaning bar brushes, right? And so I tell
Oh.
him, man, you got to get on TikTok because it's your demographic that you're trying to get a hold of, right?
Mhm.
And so it's a younger demographic, and he's showcasing, how to clean barbells. Anyways, long story
Neat.
short, and I was like, dude, here's what's gonna happen. There's gonna be a teenager or a high schooler who's
Mhm.
going to run into your video because of the sound or image, right?
Mhm.
Because they love weightlifting or CrossFit, and they're going to see this video, and then they're either going to purchase it, tell their parents that they want it, and then there's a sale.
Yeah.
Free, right? He shoots me a message and is like, Roy, it happened. I was like, what happened? He goes, there's a school, or there's a kid, a high school coach reached out to me at another state,
Uh-huh.
and we were cleaning barbells, and the kid's like, you need to get barbell rescue. And he's like, coach is like, what is that? The kid busts out his cell phone, goes on TikTok, and was like, look, this is what you need. Coach jumped
Wow.
right on, emailed him, and then like they purchased like four or five. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so
Yeah,
that's what I mean
it's
by like
awesome.
hence a very organic
Yeah.
reach. So then
Yeah, the
again,
word of mouth is so perpetual. It's so nice because he's there now. Where in a
right,
month or whenever, he's talking to the other gym coach, or he sees a similar application for another piece of metal that's rough or something. So
right. And now him as a coach will now like tell his surrounding schools of like, guys, strength and conditioning coach, right? Every coach knows another coach, right? In strength
mhm,
and the conditioning field. And now we'll relay this message, but it's very organic, right? Zero cost.
I like it.
He
We
just
have
posted a video.
we
So
have kids who love being in front of the camera, who have like the sharp moves, and who have the audio and mixed media kind of skills. We can do it. with their help, and that would be really impactful. I like that.
Right. And again, well, obviously ask the parents, hey, is it okay? Like, so,
Yeah,
after going through that aspect, but even still, hey, I want to showcase your kid with our program. You share it on YouTube, you put it on TikTok, but then your hashtags will be directly towards that city and or demographic, right? Like think
right.
10, 15-mile radius in Chicago, hashtag gymnastics and or again, tagging other schools in the area,
Yeah, I'm such an
right?
old. I was going to ask, like, how are the videos in TikTok like search for or like pop up in people's feeds? And I guess it's the hashtag and
It's
other people in that demographic that are watching it, and then it pops up in that
and it's
person's.
also the song that's trending. So again, any song will go with whatever, is trending. And what's great about it too is tutorials. So if you're
Okay.
trying to teach someone at a certain age range to do a somersault,
Mm-hmm.
hey guys, and it could be Marla, hey guys, step one, and then tuck in, right? And then you gotta and it's that and be like, show me a video or do it with me. And now they do a do it with me.
Right.
And then they're like, you know, and then the parents
Absolutely.
or do you see what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
Kids have
Absolutely.
so,
Yeah.
and so if you provide that value, but it's also staying patient with
Yeah.
it, right? So if you're looking for marketing value and trying to bring in your demographic, organic, lowest hanging fruit that you could possibly do. And if you do one a day, it could take you somewhere. But if you do like 3 or 4 a day, that's even better. Do you see what
Right.
I mean? So
Absolutely.
there's your organic
I like that.
reach,
I'm
certain
going to talk
area.
to some folks and think about what we should be talking about, who can do it, and whip it up for us.
And it's again simple, just like you were to coach anyone else in your class, you're giving them the insight of what your environment, your coaches are like, and what it feels like to be in that classroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you,
I'm
you
getting some ideas. I got some juices flowing already. I think that's going to be great. I mean, we're going to do one.
That's it. Hey, that's what we're here for. All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. I always close down our episode with rapid fire questions. So here we go. Just 5 of them. First one, right? One thing you can never live without, and it can't be coffee.
One thing I could never live without. Oh my gosh. I mean, obviously you have your, certain friends and family, but gosh, I can't live without. It's a tough one, Roy. I never thought myself to be so dependent on something, but um, I
What
mean,
was the
I
first
guess
thing
my
that kind of like
phone,
came to your mind?
my
What
phone,
your phone? Okay,
like so many people, it's just your hub, it's your entertainment, it's your communication.
yeah,
I'll go
all
with that.
right.
All right, that's too obvious.
No, you are totally fine. Again, this is just a rapid fire fun questions that I'm like, oh, all
Mhm.
right. What do you do to manage your mental health?
Uh, you know, being active in controlling my emotions and kind of being realistic in what my day shapes up like.
What is a morning routine you have to do?
Get the kids ready for school, which is just fun and fine, and I'm glad to be around for. Again, pre-COVID, I'd be out the door by 7:30 or 8, driving or hopping a train. So to be able to sit here and make breakfast and get the kids ready and have that flexibility is just priceless. Um,
But for Tony,
but for
just for,
Tony,
but you know what I mean? Like that's like, yes, that's
well,
very, yeah.
really just kind of conversing and chatting with Marla and just kind of getting the
Okay.
day figured out. We do that the night before too,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's we tend to work a little more in the evening time, getting our son to gymnastics because he's in a program too. So
Mhm.
we're low gear in the morning, just a lot of talking, a lot of planning, a lot of that relaxation time
Yeah.
that I try and do. So with the weather changing, I'd probably say going on a walk or a bike ride early in the morning will be part of the routine.
I love it. And the last question,
Yeah.
what is a good rule you've learned from someone?
A good rule that I've learned from someone. Honestly, a lot of what I learned in that lack of leadership, I think, that is going to be something that I work on.
Yeah.
I just think the importance of leadership. I'll go back to that and kind of the hard lesson I got. Clear channel there and kind of the way I was. I do look back at that and I'm like, I see what they mean. I know a lot of stuff of what I brought to the table was just kind of intangible and unknown to many people. But um, yeah, I mean, I think the importance of delegating, again, that's a level of efficiency and shows trust and respect and stuff. And I think that can, being a leader really holds a lot of it down. People are working towards your expectation. You're working towards one goal. There's a level of respect. So that was probably a big lesson I learned in recent years is that, you can't just let people think to adjust to you. Yeah, you were great in your role there. Then you got to manager. You can't just be that same deal making person there. It's like, and really, I did myself a disservice because I should have been hands off, calming down, letting things work behind the scenes. But
Yeah.
a level of neuroticism or micromanaging, and like I made myself busier than I had to be.
Yeah.
So be a good leader, and your people relationships will improve, and so will the business around you.
And there it is. Wow. Thank you so much, Tony, for sharing your journey, your insights. Guys, show some love to Tony. Give us a like, leave a comment, leave a comment. Let's say somersault, right? Let's say somersault for the gymnastic fans out there. Subscribe to our channel. If you have been listening and watching wherever you are in the world, please make sure that you share your biggest insights on today's episode. Let us know your key takeaways and what else you'd like to learn on this channel. I am here to help and guide you through your entrepreneurial journey. So, Tony, again, thank you for
Thank
having
you.
or thank you for joining us on this awesome episode, man. This is great. Thank you again for watching. If you want any more videos just like this one, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe and check out these other videos right over here. We post a new video every Wednesday. Thanks again for checking us out.